It's work to ride uphill. It's also work to ride downhill. Downhill riding on a unicycle is a constant battle of gauging speed and body position so that you keep balance. To be fair, you're always doing this on a unicycle, but downhill poses some additional challenges. Let's talk about downhill riding in general and then how to use one tool at your disposal to assist with it: your brakes. To remain upright on a unicycle, you have to keep your center of mass above your base of support. Your center of mass is the point at which all forces and masses of your body centralize in one location. For our purposes, let's call it your belly button area, but keep in mind with different body positions, it can be even outside your body. Your base of support is easy. It's just where your wheel contacts the ground. If you're falling forward, your center of mass is in front of your base of support, so you pedal faster to put your wheel under it. If you're falling backwards, you can either ride backwards to do the same thing, or if you're moving forward, you can slow the wheel down so that your center of mass catches up with where the wheel is. This is because your base of support needs to be under your center of mass relative to the force vectors involved. Gravity is pulling you down when you're not moving, so the force vector at play is just down. But when you're moving, gravity is still involved, but you also have momentum from moving, so the sum of those force vectors is slightly angled. When on a unicycle and you're moving forward, to continue going forward, you need to be unbalanced, and your wheel needs to be constantly playing a game of catch up with you. But if you wanted to stop or slow down, the unicycle needs to be in front of you to essentially be under the direction your center of mass is headed. Now, picture you're on a steep downhill. If you lean forward over your base of support, you're going to have to pedal hard so your wheel catches up with your center of mass. If you speed up on a downhill, you'll ruin the ability to control yourself. Instead, if you get some momentum, you can lean backwards and constantly try to slow the wheel down by pushing hard on the upstrokes. This lean prevents you from flying down a steep downhill, and the control of the wheel allows you to constantly keep your base of support under your center of mass while the terrain is guiding you down. Your center of mass actually needs to be slightly beyond your base of support relative to the force vectors at play to continue moving forward, but try not to think about this since you might have a tendency to do too much. Just thinking about leaning backwards and controlling the wheel should suffice. For steep terrain, being able to control the descent of the wheel with the pedals is limited. The steeper the hill, the less earth is in the way to slow the descent, so your wheel is just going to get closer and closer to accelerating to the point you can't control it. This is where brakes come in. Mountain unicycles may come with disc brakes operated by a hand lever mounted just under your seat and accessible to your fingers from your seat handle. This is a very powerful brake. When a mountain bike wheel locks up and stops, you, the rider, still have momentum and will continue forward, but if your forward momentum is not so great that you're going to go over your base of support, you'll either stop where you are or your locked wheel will start to skid. Most likely your tire will start to skid. But when a unicycle wheel locks, the forward momentum you, the rider, still has make you continue forward in a way that will not be held up by your base of support. You're likely to not remain balanced. If you slam on your brakes, your wheel completely stops, and the momentum you have of slightly being ahead of the base of support is going to hurl you into the air. Instead, use the hand lever to toggle the brakes so that it stays in the sweet spot of not being too far ahead of you so that you can't move forward or fall backwards, but not being too far behind you so that you fall face first down the descent. This is a delicate balance that demands pretty gentle and deliberate dexterity. I would suggest practicing on mellower hills, but even if you didn't need to, here are some tips that could help. One is don't be afraid to pedal forward when applying your brakes. Pedaling forward is going to give you an understanding of how much the calipers are slowing down the wheel. You don't want to have the wheel roll out from under you, but pedaling forward while applying the brakes also helps decrease the likelihood that the wheel will come to an abrupt stop. 2. Start squeezing the brakes slowly. When you squeeze slowly, then you can find the point at which resistance of the brakes starts to build. Then you can fine-tune the sweet zone from there. This is an obvious tip, but one worth stating. Starting slowly and gently also gives the wheel time to get in front of you, decreasing the likelihood of you leaning too far forward. 3rd is put your palm on the handle and 1 or 2 fingers on the brake. This is a gentle maneuver that requires deliberate and fine adjustment. If your hand wasn't fixed on the unicycle firmly, the bumps, twists, and unpredictable jostling could cause your finger that's applying the force of the brake to be moved, making the brake be applied too much or too little, in either case resulting in falling. Prop your palm firmly on the handle and grip the underside with your other fingers. This way, when the unicycle gets tossed about, it is less likely to affect the pressure applying finger since the origin of your finger is firmly fixated on the unicycle itself. 4 is lean back. It's better to lean back than lean forward. I'm still recovering from a fall from a ramp I fell on back in the fall. If you're going to make an error backwards. And lastly, keep your handle close to you. When pulling up on the handle, you firmly place yourself in the seat and you become one with the unicycle. This is good, since when you place pressure on the upstroke trying to slow the wheel down, you're less likely to come out of the seat, which means that the force you're applying all goes to the pedal and in turn slowing the wheel down. This helps the brake slow the unicycle down immensely. Again, practice. Rolling down hills is a skill needed for mountain unicycling, so the more you can understand how it works and use your brakes effectively, the less likely you are to be injured and the more fun you can have on the mountain. Let me know in the comments what you think of this video and consider subscribing if you want more unicycle content. Thanks and good luck.